you're going to see close rates be different. If you're just new, maybe you have a deal or two under your belt within the last year or so, and you're just getting into it. Now you have a solid budget. Now you're looking to get another marketing stream. Your close rate could be between that 15 to 20 lead mark, and that's still really great off a $4,000 spend. You're getting 15K rip. The ROI's there. Now, if you're more disciplined, maybe a little more seasoned, maybe you're doing 2-3 deals per month, and now you're looking to scale and add another revenue stream, then your close rate might be every 10 leads you'll get a contract. We have people for every 5 or 6 leads they get a contract, because if they obviously know exactly what to do. They have a cadence, they have a team, they know every exit strategy. They're on point with it.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Pete Podcast. I'm Jon Nolan, your host. Here we talk about latest in REI trends, tech, everything that's going on in REI. This week, we have an awesome guest. I'm excited to have him on here. This is Jonathan Cuchi with Real Estate Biz. They are one of the top PPL providers. If you haven't heard of them, you've been living under a rock. I don't know where you've been, but they're doing great things. We're going to talk about what they're doing, what makes them different, and just have a fun conversation. How you doing, Jonathan?
Doing well. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
I appreciate it. Yeah, of course. We connected not too long ago. I've known about Real Estate Biz for a while, but you and I connected recently and had a mutual friend in common and business acquaintance, and so we got to have a little fun going back and forth. But start out, I know about Real Estate Biz, but if anybody that's watching or listening doesn't know Real Estate Biz, give us just a quick intro about y'all.
Yeah, Real Estate Biz, as you mentioned earlier, our main focus right now is our pay per lead service. But we're trying to work towards a much broader aspect and a bigger conglomerate altogether. I like to say we're hopefully going to become the Google of real estate. We are growing our network and our directory massively every day. That way, not only can you get, obviously good lead flow, you can have a property marketplace anywhere for on market and off market agents, places for wholesalers to put their deals up, e-blast for deal distribution, and we're doing a lot bigger things right now as well. That hopefully within the next couple of years will put us, a lot bigger on the map. So we're working a lot of big things.
Oh, that's really cool. How long have y'all been around?
Ooh, a couple years. We started off, what was it? I think 7 or 8 years ago as a marketing agency.
Okay.
Just simplified a digital marketing agency, and we started to see most of our clients were actually in the real estate game. And obviously getting a lot of feedback from that. We became masters of SEO, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, a lot of these online Google adverts. And we kind of were asking around, seeing what else we could improve on. And we started to realize people were asking for more pay per lead services. So we utilized that and we became Real Estate Biz after that. And we've kind of been going strong, ever since then.
I gotcha. So and that takes us to, a question that I get a lot and I hear a lot is, how do I get leads? what should I do for SEO? What should I do for pay-per-click? And people a lot of times feel very overwhelmed with it.
Sure.
Do I need to do it? Do I hire a company to do it? What should my ad spend be? Is the cheap, do I want the cheapest leads? Do I want the most leads? All over the place.
Sure.
PPL comes in, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, and just kind of takes that out of the way for them. They don't have to worry about managing their own SEO or their pay-per-click. Hey, here's what we're doing. We're going to pay these people. They're going to generate the leads, quality leads, of course, and send them over to us. Is that kind of a good synopsis of it?
100%. I think, as a wholesaler myself, especially being in the younger crowd, you see this is becoming a very popular thing. It started out as just a side hustle. Now it's becoming a popular, sincere business that people can grow and scale. And that's always a reoccurring question. What should I do? That was my first questions. What can I do? I got $1,000 for Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to put this on? So I've used so many different ways of marketing, and the most simple way that I've ever found was PPL. It's probably the easiest way to get in front of an actual motivated seller that raised their hand, went out of their way to hit somebody up, basically saying they want a cash offer or a creative offer. and talk to them immediately. So there's going to be a lot of noise in the space on, oh, cold calling's the best, or SEO's the best, or
Mhm.
PPC's the best. I can tell you that every single one of them works. It does. It does. And any, you know, big investor or someone who's seasoned will tell you every single one works. It just depends on how well you work it. But
Exactly.
especially when it comes to PPL, we like to be that first step forward for you to get as many at bats as possible, especially these newer people. It's going to be a much different conversation talking to somebody who immediately tells you within 3 seconds of them putting in a form that they want to sell their house versus a Facebook ad that you then have to qualify, then have to talk to, and then set an appointment with, and then talk to 3 or 4 days later. It's a much different conversation.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
it's a completely different conversation. So much easier.
heck, it's much easier. It's much simpler. So I always try to kind of push people towards that. Like if you're just starting out, you have a budget to spend, you have some sort of, I guess, experience or even learning. PPL is your easiest bet to go there by far. And then once you get good at it, start adding channels, grow your business, but PPL should be kind of your foundation there.
Nice. I love it. Yeah. Going back in my real estate journey almost a decade ago, I when I went full time, my biggest question was how do I get leads? And I ended up joining a franchise system, which that's a whole other long story.
Mm,
But that was the biggest thing was I didn't know how to get leads. And then when I left that franchise, my biggest question was how do I get leads? And so I've gone through these pains of trying to figure out SEO, trying to find out pay per click. Especially when you're starting out, PPL is nice because it just gets your phone ringing.
exactly. It's out and
Um,
about.
so
It's very simplified.
yep. So what makes real estate bees different than other PPL providers?
Yeah, there's a few things that definitely can differentiate us from almost every other PPL company. I'm sure you've heard a lot of the bigger names, but
Mhm.
we're really heavily focused on data and feedback, not just volume. That's one thing that everybody wants to preach. And while volume is extremely important in this industry, we focus on the data that we actually receive and the feedback that we're getting back from the data that we're actually putting out. Now we're actively we're trying to cut low quality lead sources out, of our kind of our flow right now, especially with our Auto Buy Pro program. That's our kind of top of the end subscription service where you have a bigger budget, let's say over $1,000, and you want to start getting, more volume leads. We're actively cutting out our lower quality leads from that. That way you can focus on more high intent leads. Sometimes that might seem like a little we've seen cut back on lead flow from people that are like, oh, why is it this month that I got 25 leads instead of 30? Well, 5 of those leads were horrible quality that they wouldn't want to send you, but now your contract, rate can jump up even more because you have a much tighter niche list. That's one thing I was trying to do. We're prioritizing long-term performance over short-term scale. We want to be able to keep people on the platform as long as we can. So this is a continuous marketing for them that they can always rely on, especially if you're trying other marketing channels. At least, all right, if I don't do well in PPC for 6 months, I at least know I've cut a couple deals for my PPL provider, you know?
Yep.
Um,
So
and honestly, the biggest thing that I'm seeing is hopefully we're going to be the first platform who will filter leads and, give you proper exit strategies that we can suggest, hey, this lead will most likely be better as a novation, or this lead will most likely be better as a creative finance deal, cash deal, so on and so forth. That way, you're not struggling 2 days before close on figuring out what your exit strategy should be.
gotcha. Well, hey, that's some pretty cool stuff. And I'm going to ask you a couple questions that you may or may not be able to share. And if so, that's
Mhm.
fine. If not, that's
Well,
fine. What are y'all doing in the background to filter out those low quality leads and have that suggested dispo? I mean, because I'm assuming a lead comes in and it goes out to somebody that's buying the leads rather quickly, or is it
yeah.
a they come in and y'all contact the people and like do a little bit of brief stuff first? I mean, what's the process there?
So the process is pretty simple. As soon as we get it in from the forms, we're going to send it immediately to the person. That way, there's no filter in between. There's no pregnancy in between. So the way we're attempting to filter it out, which we're trying to improve on this every day, is getting feedback from our people. Like, hey, what are the signs you're seeing? What are the conversations you're having? How is this going? What type of leads are you getting? Like, give us feedback on everything we're doing. That way we can improve. And while we're not getting feedback from every single person, the feedback we are getting is helping us kind of tailor the actual stuff we're getting in. That way we can, before even calling them or sending it in, like we can tell, all right, this person has a brand new home that was just built in 2025 and they're just wanting to sell. There's no real need to sell. Why would we send this to somebody in the first place? And we
Mhm.
couldn't know that until we start getting feedback on like, hey, this is why that's happening. Now we can go back and look on, especially kind of tune up our SEO and things like that to filter it out a lot more scrutinization and kind of make it simpler.
Gotcha. That's really cool. That's really cool, and I love the feedback loop. Kind of going to other conversations you and I have had. Feedback is huge. It's vital. But most people, even if they're doing SEO and pay per click or other shoot even bandit signs, if they're still doing bandit signs, they don't know which ones are actually performing, and they're not finding out. Well, why keep putting all this money here, there, I mean, all over the place? We track. Um, for my investment business, our primary lead source is TV, and we track what time the leads come in.
Hmm.
Because I mean, that matters. If we aren't getting calls between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., why the heck are we advertising at that time? So I love that feedback loop that y'all have. I really love that. That's awesome. Um, can you share like kind of volume of how many leads go through your system in a month, quarter, year, whatever?
Yeah, so usually every month we get in contact with about 5,000 homeowners per month across our platform.
Nice.
And that's going to be a mixture of, different types of homeowners, obviously, either land, commercial, single family. It kind of depends on the market and your demographic, but mostly going to be in that single family home era.
Nice. That's a good amount. And is that all 50 states, the contiguous 48?
Yeah, so it's going to be mostly the 48 here in the continental US. We're starting to see a little bit more in like Hawaii, Alaska, even the smaller states like Delaware, where I've met like two wholesalers in Delaware, and they're basically the only two wholesalers there. So again, it really depends on the market, but it's going to be, the core states that most popularized investing is going to be taking place in.
Gotcha. And I'm just curious here because I get this question sometimes with our software. Any thoughts or plans to go international and have other markets in other countries?
I have no idea, to be honest. I think that would be something that would be amazing because we do have people within the company who are outside the US that definitely have
Mhm.
great insights in those markets. And I think this is something that could potentially happen in the future. And obviously, I think that's something that would be super beneficial, but that's a learning curve for sure. We got to figure out the
Oh
market.
yeah.
We got to figure out who's there, what's there, how we can capitalize on it and figure out just like how we are, partner up with people that way we're not just the only ones, the weird kid on the playground.
Yeah. And another benefit people have from, and I was kind of segueing into that.
Yeah.
If you, let's say, and I'm just pulling something out of a hat, let's
Mm,
say y'all decide, we're going to go start providing paper leads in Dominican Republic.
mm,
Who knows? Would be going in, y'all would be doing research, y'all would be doing development and getting that stuff ready so that people, when they started buying leads, it would be ready to go. It's just like if you hadn't been in another state before.
mm,
Whereas an investor, if he wanted to go start doing it, they're going to have to start researching all that. They're going to have to do all of that development, research, development costs, putting money out for advertising, not knowing what's happening. They're going to have to do that by themselves.
mm,
Kind of channel that back. It could be Oklahoma City, it could be Tulsa, it could be Fort Wayne, Indiana.
mm.
If somebody wants to go into one of these markets, they don't, if they're using real estate bees, they don't have to know how to market. And that
Exactly.
makes it so much easier for them. They're not having to have that expense and take those licks.
100%. It makes it dwindles down that market research. That way, especially if you are trying to, break out of your local market, because I think that's one popularized thing that a lot of people start out at. They're like, you know what? I know my neighborhood. Let me start there. Let me start with driving for dollars. Let me call the neighbor down the street. You know your areas pretty well. And once you get to the point where you want to start expanding, it's pretty daunting being in a new place that you have zero clue on how anything works here. Especially for seasoned investors when they're moving to different states, you got to learn the laws. You got to learn, what what's going to be the
Mhm.
biggest motivation here? What's the most popular exit strategy? Because some states, they completely hate wholesaling. There's some states where you need a real estate license. And if you get caught traditionally wholesaling without a real estate license, you could get in trouble. And if you don't know that, you're kind of stuck in the weeds. So this is a really big thing that, especially with real estate bees, with PPL in general, you can kind of figure out and get your foot in the door. All right, I just dispoed a lead in a brand new market. I got a nice 10K rip. What can I do now? I have a cushion to
Mhm.
learn and figure out what's going to be coming next and build on from there.
Yep. So tell me a little bit more. You talked about some stuff y'all are working on, or you have been working on, like as far as dispo and stuff. Can you share a little bit about that and how that can help people?
Yeah, so our e-blast for our deal distribution and our marketplace. So whenever we have wholesalers who are going to be partnered with us, and they, for example, get a contract with us, then we can put it in our deal marketplace. That way, specifically, filtered out for wholesalers off market properties. That way, if you are a buyer, an end buyer, then you can look at our, network of people and find these houses, make bids. That's becoming very popular because it's just like going back if you're newer in the market or you don't have a specific buyers list in, the perfect place, then that could be a really great place to start adding buyers to your list. Actually get some new inquiries into properties that you've gotten under contract with us. That's been really helpful, and we're trying to build that out little by little. Um, and see, obviously, with the feedback, trying to get feedback on what else we can add, vet buyers, make sure we can have a solid product to offer people. That way, when they are wondering if they can get a buyer or not, they can at least trust, like, all right, Real Estate Bees has been performing pretty well in that space. Let's put it on there and, see what happens.
Mhm. So uh, different pay per lead providers. That made me think of something I should have asked earlier. E- every company does their selling of leads a little bit different. There's some that are auctions, some that are set that round robin, all kinds. I don't want to go into all those. I want to focus on y'all. How do people buy leads from y'all? What's the process look like?
Yeah, so we have three. Well, I guess we have two very popular ways, and then there's an umbrella on one of them. So the first place is our lead marketplace. That's where you can just go individually buy one lead at a time, figure out your markets. We're gonna have our non-exclusive and exclusive, depending on obviously where and when you buy them. So those are gonna be between, you can filter out the dates on when they came in. But somebody who's just kind of dabbling, they have a couple $100, but they don't want to fully commit. That's a really good place to start if you want to get a high intent, not exclusive lead. That's going to be first place. So you'll have a list of everything, and it'll give you all the demographics on them, whether they need to sell urgently, what kind of motivation it is. It kind of filters it down from there. Our second, and this is kind of our most popularized thing, is going to be our auto buy. So that's going to be a subscription service. We have
Okay.
three main points on that. Our lowest tier is going to be our auto buy trial. We call it the trial because you're going to get up to 10 leads per month for $50. And these are going to be non exclusive leads within 4 hours old. You're not going to get more than 10. You might get 8, you might get 9, depending. But this is a really popular thing for newer people who want to speak to motivated sellers and kind of
Yeah,
get
they need to
more
get those reps in.
at. Exactly. This is why we call it the try, because it's like, all right, you're going to get 10 chances a month, man, to talk to these people and start to get good at it for $50. And your chances of, closing something might not be, super, super high compared to somebody who, is an exclusive lead that just came in 30 seconds ago. But you still have a chance of figuring out what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. That way, when you do get the chance of speaking to somebody of that higher caliber, you could just
Mhm.
shotgun it, man, and you're good.
Yeah.
Our second tier will be our auto buy light. That's $95 per month, $29 per lead. There's no limit on that. You can buy as many as you want. Those are going to be a little newer, still on the non-exclusive side. But we try to keep it kind of to a certain number. So usually with that, you're going to see people between, I don't know, 75 to 100 leads, and you'll get one solid contract over 10 to 20,000. I'm sorry, 10 to 15,000 for RIP. So the ROI on that is pretty great. Especially when you're talking to that many people and getting good at it, then you basically look solid. You'll probably have a $3,000, spend before you get a really good contract. And then you're almost 5Xing your, initial investment, which is huge.
Nice. Hmm.
And our I guess our golden child, our favorite kid, as I like to say, is the Auto Buy Pro. That's the subscription service where we have a minimum budget of $1,000. That's going to be where you pick your exact markets. I would always recommend go down to county level because it's going to make the scraping so much more accurate. If you're nationwide, statewide, your budget better be huge, man. Your budget better be massive. But if you're just starting out, let's say you have 3K, start off with that. That's usually a really good starting point to get your first contract, and that's just going to be a subscription every month. It's not like you're putting 3K up front into a balance. What you're going to do is you're going to set up your card, put in your budget, and every lead that comes in, you're going to start to get charged up to that limit. And once it hits that limit,
Okay.
then you're done until the next subscription.
Okay. And so, using that 3K example, and I'm assuming different markets are different.
For sure.
I mean, how many, for your typical or average market, how many leads would that typically get them? And these are the exclusive leads now, right?
Exclusive leads. So yeah, for 3,000, it should get you between 15 to 20 leads on average.
Well, that's not bad at all. That's
It's
really
not bad
good.
at all.
That's really, really good.
For sure. And it obviously depends on, your market, how popular things are. We work on a round robin system. But generally speaking, it should be between 15 to 20 leads. Now, this is where things can get a little specific, especially if you're somebody who's a little newer versus somebody who's more seasoned. You're going to see close rates be different. If you're just new, maybe you have a deal or two under your belt within the last year or so, and you're just getting into it. Now you have a solid budget. Now you're looking to get another marketing stream. Your close rate could be between that 15 to 20 lead mark. And that's still really great off a $4,000 spend. And you're getting 15K rip. The ROI is there. Now, if you're more disciplined, maybe a little more seasoned, maybe you're doing 2-3 deals per month, and now you're looking to scale and add another, revenue stream, then your close rate might be every 10 leads, you'll get a contract. We have people for every 5 or 6 leads, they get a contract because of they obviously know exactly what to do. They have a cadence, they have a team, they know every exit strategy. They're on point with it. So
They're dialed in.
For sure. It could very well be you as well doing that kind of volume and that kind of, I guess, conversion rate, if you get good at what you do. And this is why I always preach, especially to the younger guys, there are going to be people who are working their butt off while you're playing video games. There's going to be somebody who, while you're at the beach, they are dialing their butt off. And if you want to be one of those guys, trust me, you can get there. You got to put in the work, man. Trust me on that.
Man, I wish I would have. I was a work hard, play hard guy when I was younger. Spent time in the Marine Corps. You and I've talked about that.
Yeah.
And when I was at work, I worked hard. But then once work was done, I played very hard. And I wish I would have done more building back then, because I would be so much further along than I am now.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, every decision I made led me to where I am now. So
For sure. Love that.
I stand there. So is there a way for somebody to estimate if they're coming on board, like, okay, how many leads am I realistically going to get this month? I don't know if they have 10 people in my market, 2 people. As you mentioned round robin, is there a way for them to kind of plan like not even saying like automate, like straight up shown on the website, but is there a way for them to reach out and be like, hey, I'm looking at doing this. Am I, realistically going to get this many leads, or how do they plan for that?
Yeah, so we have success coaches that you're going to have a conversation with, especially when you start, get that subscription. You can have a choice to talk to them. I would always recommend talking to them because they have the insights on everything. Now, every single market's going to be different, so you're going to have a different conversation every time. And if you're somebody who is looking into multiple markets, this is the perfect kind of leeway for you to find out exactly what your success could potentially be based on our numbers and the feedback we get. And there's not a lot of companies who do that, who really want to sit down and give you the exact insights that they have in order to give you the most success, because obviously the better you do, the better we do, man. It's, a symbiotic relationship that's going to make everybody happy. So our success coaches will have all that information for you. You can kind of have a slightly realistic expectation of what you can do. But on average, most of the averages are going to be the same. Like so for example, we have a dude in New Jersey who's dominating New Jersey right now. He has an unlimited spend, meaning he one month he'll spend 15K, or another month he might spend 50K, and but he'll make 300 grand that month.
Baller.
Oh man. So it depends. If you have guys like that, maybe looking somewhere else, But you could be that guy. He started out with us at a very small budget. He started off small, and now look at where he is. That's one
That's
growth.
awesome.
Oh, for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, who's your ideal? eh, The people are listening to this that think, okay, I should be reaching out to them. I'm assuming that's your wholesalers, your experienced and your new wholesalers. People are wanting to get into wholesaling and just haven't quite stepped in. But then also coaches. Do y'all work with coaches to kind of affiliate with their students or anything along those lines as well?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I think coaching communities is going to be one of our biggest things. Our mutual friend Ben Algier, he is a great coach, and he uses Pete and praises Pete, and he
Mhm.
loves he loves our leads. It's one of our biggest talk tracks when it comes to actually recruiting people to his coaching business is being able to use our leads and inject them into the CRM that you guys have, and obviously having a good coach who's used our leads for a long time and knows how to talk to them. Our success rate is huge. We're obviously trying to talk to more coaches. That way we can actually have a lot of these newer people who they'll spend 5, 6, 7K on a coach, you know what I mean? And they want to talk to people immediately. They have somebody who is teaching them every day what to do. And what better way to utilize that knowledge than to talk to somebody immediately who literally said 30 seconds ago, I want to sell my house right now. Like I need to. It's terrible. It's
Yep.
almost a no brainer.
Yep. I agree. I agree. Awesome. Well, Jonathan, I appreciate you joining me. Any closing things that you want to say or want to share with the audience?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing I can say is just keep, keep going on, man. PPL is a really, really easy way to get forward. You're gonna have every single, just like we said earlier, you're gonna have so many different avenues to use when it comes
Mhm.
to your wholesaling business, your flipping business, your development business. But especially if you're either have an established business and you just want to grow more and scale, or you're just starting out and you have a slight budget, dude, Real Estate Bees is there to literally help you get to the next point in your business. So then you can quit your 9 to 5, become financially free. I've seen it time and time
That's
again.
great.
There's no way that you can't be one of them as well.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. And if they want to get more info, do they reach out to you? Go to your website? What's the best way there?
Yeah, realestatebees.com is going to be best. If you want to reach out to me personally, you can look me up on Instagram. It's Real Estate with Cuchi. It's pretty simple. Yeah. Hit me up on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, Jonathan Cuchi. Yeah, just hit me up and we can talk from there, right?
Awesome. I appreciate it, Jonathan. I'll look forward to chatting with you again personally here in the near future.
Awesome.
So,
Thank you so much, John.
yep. Thank you. And everybody, thanks for joining in. Another week of the Pete Podcast. Like I said, I'm Jon Nolan. You can reach out to me anytime. I'm the Flipping IT Guy on Instagram and Facebook, or just reach out to us if you're interested about Pete at PeteREI.com. Talk to you next week.